Welcome back to Lore Time with Skanka, the show in which I try and teach you all the hidden little secrets in the Destiny universe, and try and keep you as up to date with the game as possible. Today we'll be discussing the legend of Praedyth and his role in the Destiny universe. So who was Praedyth? He skipped like a stone on time's ocean. This is what's left. Praedyth was a warlock who fought for the protection of the city. Not much information is known of his time in the city or out in the wild, but we do know fragments. As Akora would say, scribbles, written in the margins of old library books. We know that he was aligned to factions with the future war cult. We have also heard the tales of his bravest assault, when he and 5 other guardians stepped into the vault, the Vex's playground, a place where they could freely manipulate time and space, where Praedyth's story ended, or so we thought. We know that Praedyth went into the vault with his fire team, but who were they? We know that the team's leader was a titan named Kabir. It is also safe to say that a hunter named Parhaneen went into the vault also, though it could be speculated that he escaped as Parhaneen went on to create the exotic heavy machine gun with super good advice. As far for the others that descended into the vault, their names have yet to be recovered or deciphered. All we know is that apart from Parhaneen, none of them returned. Praedyth himself was believed to be a myth, with the weapons Praedyth Timespiece and Praedyth's Revenge being the only pieces of evidence that he ever existed. This was until the Vanguard discovered a mysterious message coming from the Vault of Glass. In the story mission Paradox, after fighting through the Taken that have infected the Vault of Glass, you and your Guardian discover Praedyth's corpse, long dead, trapped deep within the Vault of Glass. If a secret area in the Paradox mission is triggered as the Daily Heroic, it is revealed that Praedyth still exists somewhere, somehow, stuck between space and time, almost as if he was standing on the outside and peering into our reality. We know this from the Grimoire card. The mystery, Praedyth's door. Praedyth opened his eyes. The receiver spluttered to life. It had taken him the better part of a decade to get his crude comm scanner working, and another few years to get it transmitting. Now, in the brief window of time, when the door to his cell was opened, he would call for help. He sighed, a deliberate act that caused him to cough roughly. He had no idea how much longer his body would hold out. But then, that kind of thinking was all relative here, wasn't it? Praedyth stared at the sprawling mass of metal and wires, listening to the tinny sounds coming from his makeshift speaker. Before he spoke, he always made a point to listen. The words, the concepts that flowed into his mind confused him. Timelines and potentialities that might have already happened, might happen, might never happen. A pattern was ever dancing in the edge of his vision. At times like this, when the world rushed past him, he had to hold tight to the fact that he was still breathing. He would often focus in on the intake, output, in-breath, out-breath, breathe, breathe, breathe. Hours later he blinked, refocused, the static had stopped. He had missed his window. Once he would have cursed and spat, now he just shook his head, a weak movement of the neck. The Vex had decided their end. The Guardians had interceded. The Vex were fallible. If the Vex could be wrong, if they can make mistakes, someday he could be free. Someday he might leave the vault, might see again the Traveller. Until then he would listen. He would observe. He would be the man on the outside looking in, a viewpoint into the consciousness of minds that sprawled galaxies. He would try and understand the Vex. Praedyth closed his eyes. So that's what we know on the warlock known as Praedyth. He's out there, somewhere, and in his own words, he's our man on the inside. What could this mean for the rest of Kabir's fire team? Could they be out there still, trapped in the vault, waiting to make contact? What were their names? What was their story? We know that Kabir split the vault to make us the relics, but what of the others? What was their story? And maybe one day, just maybe, their stories will make it into another episode of Lore Time with Skanka. Praedyth's fall isn't over, because it hasn't happened yet. And it will happen again. Post your thoughts and theories in the comment section below. Until next time, Guardians, take it easy.